I had begun reluctantly, I might add, to more and more think about the upcoming transition from fertile middle to, well, a part of life everyone tells you is going to be miserable. That part where you bite everyone's head off, have hot flashes, and start to lose your mind, said Leanne Rimes, Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter, seeker, speaker of truth, mystic, and overall badass. And she said this in her foreword of the book Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pouts. If you, like I, can relate to this, I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with you. You're experiencing hormonal imbalance. You may already be in perimenopause, you may already be in menopause, or you may not yet be there, but may have some underlying causes that are causing your hormones to be imbalanced. Now, you could put your head down and push through, like I did, or you can choose to be one of those who say there must be a better way, and I am worthy of better health. In my late 30s, something changed. My cycle, which had been a seamless 3-day incident every month with no pain and very little impact on my life, became a dreaded, erratic, super heavy nightmare that caused me to worry more than I actually admitted at the time. How I wish what I knew now about the impact of hormonal imbalance, how I wish I'd chosen to love myself enough to actually seek and receive expert help about not only balancing my hormones, but also designing a lifestyle that would keep them in balance. Instead, I suffered for many years, I self-supplemented, and I did not get any better. In fact, I got worse because the erratic cycles and heavy bleeding were now joined by hot flashes in the middle of cold, air-conditioned rooms. I would also experience high irritability, energy slumps in the middle of the day, and actually forgetting what I was about to say or what I walked into a room to do. This was not only embarrassing, it was scary. I was not even 40 yet, right? Now, what I then did was I did something drastic. I went on a very, very stringent diet. Dr. Sebi, some of you may know about him, where you can basically eat, I don't know, 20 foods he has on the list. And I did so for 9 months. Hot flushes went away, energy levels soared, and I felt great. The problem was it was extremely stringent, and I did not see myself eating like that for the rest of my life. It was not sustainable. So I fell off the bandwagon, and my symptoms gradually came back. Now, what does all of this have to do with love, joy, clarity, and success? Let's start with love. One hormone that you may all know is oxytocin. This is dubbed the love hormone. It's also known as the queen of hormones. And it's really important when it comes to bonding, trust, and relationship building. Now, oxytocin is produced when we engage in hugs, social interactions that are positive, moments of connection. If you're rushing about life and you're super stressed and you don't make any time for any of these, then what you're leading to is very high cortisol levels, because when you have high oxytocin, it reduces your body's production of cortisol. So imagine I was working with the intensity of a Formula One driver and the dedication of a doctor on call, absolutely not prioritizing relationships at work or at home. And so I can just imagine that my oxytocin levels were extremely low. I was suspicious, I was edgy, I had no bandwidth or space to connect in true, meaningful relationships. I felt isolated, the list goes on. And some of you may be able to relate, especially in a corporate environment where there's lots of politics and you just never know, right? Who's friend or foe. I probably saw more people as foe than friend, but that was simply my lens. And so it's very important that if you truly want love, platonically or romantically, you engage in activities that will support keeping your oxytocin levels high. This will not only support you with the relationships, it will also support you in reducing cortisol, which will then keep your insulin levels low, and it will then support you in reducing or at least not having a waistline that begins to spread. All right. Now, the next thing I want to share is that oxytocin actually has a huge effect on progesterone and estrogen. These are extremely important hormones when it comes to a woman's cycle, a woman having energy, a woman also being able to be calm, cool, and collected. And when cortisol levels are high because oxytocin levels may be low, you're not able to produce estrogen and progesterone adequately. Now, some ways that you can actually really increase your oxytocin levels are good quality time with loved ones. So please make the time. Petting your animals, participating in community activities. In my particular case, I did not have a pet because I traveled all the time, but I had plants. I intentionally had some living creatures live with me, and I used to talk to my plants. We can all take baby steps. Now, the next thing that hormones can influence is your joy. Now, we have serotonin and dopamine. You've probably all heard of these two. Dr. Mindy Pelz actually says not feeling joy in your life is often not circumstantial. It's actually neurochemical. Serotonin influences your mood. It influences your ability to feel happiness. It influences your satisfaction levels. And its balance is absolutely crucial when it comes to joy and contentment. Now, many people think that serotonin is produced in the brain. Only about 10% is produced in the brain. 90% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut. And why I share this is because when we eat highly processed food, constantly eat out where we don't know what's put in the food, or just really don't feed ourselves in a nurturing, healthy manner, then we disempower ourselves in terms of our ability to feel happy and joyful. Many people have actually cured depression simply by beginning to cook for themselves in a healthy manner. I never used to cook. I would always eat everything out. And one day I just felt this instinct to start baby steps cooking for myself. Now I'm happy to say I not only enjoy cooking for myself, which is an act of self-love, I also enjoy cooking for those that I love. So what are the ways we can actually boost our serotonin? A healthy diet, regular exercise, and pursuing hobbies. The thing about dopamine, which is basically a pleasure, motivation, reward hormone, is that it's great. But what may happen is that you are exposed to higher and higher levels of dopamine, especially those high achievers where we love to tick the box, achieve that, and go on to the next thing. And so you become less sensitive to it. So from time to time, it's important to do a dopamine reset. And this can actually be done by fasting, which Dr. Mindy Pelz speaks about in her book. How about clarity? In terms of clarity, what you want to know is that cortisol and adrenaline, which are increased when we're under stress, actually reduce our ability to think with clarity. They are essential in order to run from the tigers. You often hear the expression, but there are really no tigers in real life we're running from. And so chronic exposure to elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline will lead to poor decision-making, brain fog, to mention a few things. So what you want to definitely do is to make sure that you are doing everything in your power to manage your stress. Some techniques may be mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing exercises. As I said, increasing oxytocin could also support with reducing cortisol. It gets to be a priority. Unfortunately, many of us are addicted to the rush, addicted to the stress, and it takes weaning off this. And this is not going to be something that you snap your fingers and do. This is not a quick fix. It's going to be something that gets to happen at a mind, body, spirit, and space level so that your results are sustainable. Okay? Another thing that also helps with clarity as well and brain function is eating omega-3 fats, fatty acids, making sure you have your antioxidants and other nutrients that support brain health. Now, let's bring it all together in terms of success. You see, success is not only a question of how well you've done professionally. Success is also a question of the quality of your relationships, the quality of your health, right? It's at work and at home. Now, what would your life look like if you didn't have brain fog, you didn't have energy slumps in the middle of the afternoon, you didn't have high irritability, which then left you feeling guilty because you snapped at someone and you were not very nice and then you just felt that you'd hurt their feelings? You didn't feel isolated. You didn't have hot flashes or night sweats, leaving you feeling embarrassed. What would your life look like? And my point here is this: a life that is relaxed instead of stressed, a life where you are truly able to show up connected to your heart and feel satisfied and fulfilled, a life where you have incredibly healthy, fulfilling, connected relationships. That kind of life will support hormonal health. And hormonal health will support that kind of life. And this is why, when I realized this, I realized that the path to hormonal bliss is one that gets to be in every program that I create. So whatever you are doing to support yourself, make sure you're taking care of your hormones. If you're hearing this in your 30s, well done. It's going to save you a nasty transition in perimenopause and menopause. Not every woman experiences the awful symptoms that I have just described. And that's because they haven't burnt out their adrenals through exhausting their bodies completely. In fact, if things are going well as you move into menopause, your adrenals start producing hormones and supporting you in a way where your ovaries may have been doing so before. Everything in your body, there's a reason for it. So your ovaries are very important to keep you fertile. After a certain age, that is no longer required. However, it doesn't mean that you do not require hormones. But if your adrenals are burnt out, then they cannot take over this job that your amazing ovaries have been doing for so many years. And so, don't feel guilty if you're edgy, irritated, feeling tired, can't remember anything. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It simply means that you get to support yourself hormonally in all ways, through your body, through your mind, through your space, and spiritually as well. Because when you meditate, when you're mindful, when you're connected, when you move, all of these things support you. I'd love to know what your experiences of perimenopause and menopause are. I'd love to know what's resonating for you. And I'd love you to reach out if you would love to know how to take your power back in your phenomenal feminine. Stop fighting with your body, but simply listen to it and give it what it needs in order to support you so you can show up in your big, beautiful, bold, and audacious life and do all the things that you came to do without burning out. You get to shine bright. Love and light.